Even if they never appeared in history textbooks, there were women who profoundly shaped Japan's culture and society. Murasaki Shikibu, Shibusawa Eiichi's daughter, Utako, and the women who carried Takarazuka on their shoulders. They faced failures and setbacks, yet still carved out new paths. And yet, many of them remain forgotten shadow protagonists of history. Today, we dive into the stories of these forgotten women of Japan. Chapter 1. Murasaki Shikibu, the world's first novel born from loneliness. Murasaki Shikibu was born the daughter of a mid-ranking noble family in the Heian era. From a young age, she studied Chinese classics under her father, and she eagerly absorbed knowledge. But one day her father sighed and said, "If only you had been born a boy, you would have become such a great scholar." Those words pierced her deeply. To be limited simply because she was a woman, it became both a source of inferiority and the spark that ignited her determination. Loneliness in court. She entered court service as a lady-in-waiting to Fujiwara no Shoshi. Though the court was dazzling, it was also rife with jealousy and rivalry. While her talents attracted attention, she was also resented. "She's difficult, she looks down on." Others' rumors spread, and her isolation grew. In her diary, she admitted, "I know I am a person who is easily disliked." The court was far from comfortable, but it was that very loneliness that drove her to pick up the brush. The birth of the tale of Genji. Murasaki began to write about the hidden dramas of the court. Through the idealized figure of Hikaru Genji, she expressed love, jealousy, power, and solitude in exquisite detail. Stories were common entertainment for noblewomen, but hers were different. They put into words what we feel. Inside, many women devoured her work with passion. At the same time, she was ridiculed. How presumptuous for a woman to write such things. Caught between praise and scorn, she never stopped writing. Failures and successes. Failure, she was poor at socializing, often isolated and labeled gloomy or unsociable. Success out of that isolation was born. The Tale of Genji, now read for over 1,000 years and celebrated as the world's first novel. By confronting her weakness and inferiority and transforming them into art, she became one of Japan's greatest literary figures. Murasaki proved one thing: even a woman can move the world with words. Chapter 2. Shibusawa Utako, an educator in her father's shadow. Next, we meet Utako, the daughter of Japan's leading industrialist, Shibusawa Eiichi. Her father, called the father of Japanese capitalism, founded countless companies and banks. But Utako always lived under the heavy title of Eiichi's daughter. Her own efforts and name were hidden in his shadow. Struggles at home. She married, but her relationship with her husband was troubled. Differences in temperament and daily life wore her down, leaving her physically and mentally exhausted. "Am I destined to remain only someone's wife?" she asked herself in despair. That painful experience led her to a conviction. Women need the power to stand on their own. The challenge of women's education. In those days, women were expected only to be good wives and wise mothers. Education for women was considered unnecessary. Utako believed otherwise. She joined the management of girls' schools and promoted female education. But she faced harsh resistance. What use is education for women? They will only marry anyway. Ridicule, lack of funds, and repeated setbacks plagued her work, planting seeds of change. Still, she refused to give up. Even if people don't understand now, the future needs this, she believed. Her students became mothers who valued education, raising daughters who later gained the right to vote after the war. She herself never stood in the spotlight of history, but her efforts quietly connected to Japan's progress in women's rights. Failures and successes. Failure, her efforts were dismissed as possible, only because she was Eiichi's daughter. Success, the seeds she planted, became the fertile ground for future generations of women to thrive. She was truly an unsung heroine. Chapter 3. The women who carried Takarazuka. Finally, we turn to the women who carried the Takarazuka Review. Founded in 1914 by Kobayashi Ichizo of Hankyu Railways, Takarazuka's stage was built by the young women who performed on it, fighting social prejudice. At the time, it was considered improper for women to perform in public. Some girls were even disowned by their families for joining. Early performances were laughed at. "It's just child's play." Male role performers were heckled, and many cried backstage, polishing the stage. Yet they practiced tirelessly dance, song, and acting, failing and trying again. In time, a unique Takarazuka style was born, especially the otokoyaku, women playing men, became icons for female audiences. It was not just theater. It was a new model of life for women, showing freedom beyond traditional roles. Between success and sacrifice, failure, many had to give up marriage and family life, facing the painful choice between the stage and home. Success, they chose the stage, and their dedication made Takarazuka a lasting cultural institution. Admired worldwide today, Takarazuka proved that women could choose their own path. Chapter 4. What they shared: solitude and courage. Murasaki Shikibu, Shibusawa Utako, and the women of Takarazuka. Different times, different worlds, yet all shared solitude and courage. Murasaki kept writing despite a woman's work is worthless. Utako pushed education forward despite ridicule. Takarazuka's girls danced on despite being called shameless. Their lives were filled with setbacks and scorn. But those struggles built the foundation that allows us today to learn, speak, and perform freely. Conclusion, a question to the audience. These women were not mythical geniuses. They were ordinary people, lonely, doubted, ridiculed, yet they followed their convictions. From them, we learn the courage to keep trying, even when laughed at, even when failing. So when you feel like giving up, remember Murasaki's solitude, Utako's struggle, and the tears of the Takarazuka girls. The forgotten heroines of history are, in truth, messages of hope for us living today.